Here we go from the top rope, a steel cage match with my next guest, the CEO of CCW, Nelio Cuomo Costa. Welcome, my very own Vince McMahon. How you doing, brother?
Dan. Thank you so much. It's been so awesome to finally be here.
Oh yeah, a happy customer channel. You think you're so smart, huh? Yeah, Dan, you think you're giving business advice to the world. I got a little something for you. Oh yeah, dig it.
I wish I would have had like a better Hogan voice or
What you gonna do, brother? Hibbs here with CCW owner and executive director, Nelio Costa, brother.
I love it, man. As a lifelong wrestling fan, I'm pumped to have you on the show. Tell me about, how'd you get your start? Like, how does somebody get into the wrestling business?
So I was a professional wrestler when I was 4 years old. I mean, I wasn't trained or anything like that, but I watched, actually, it was Hulk Hogan, Undertaker, Survivor Series. It was 91. I'm so old, man. And Hulk Hogan takes the Tombstone Pile Driver. He loses the belt.
Yeah.
This is like the greatest babyface of all time. Loses the belt, and the first time that I'm watching, I was hooked for life. So immediately I just started clotheslining my brothers, my cousins, going to school and just throwing I didn't know it was a work, so just punching people in the face. And so I was a wrestler, back then. But when I was 18, I was playing football, and I was playing football. I was going to play college football, but I wanted to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
always my dream. I was cutting promos on the football field. I'd do the Ultimate Warrior shtick and all that type of stuff, like cut the sleeves off and I would wear like a warrior face paint when I played football and stuff like that. So I was always really a professional wrestler, and then started training a little bit, had some knee surgeries, and then got back into it in 2004 at CCW. And then 6 years ago, with Dan, who's one of my trainers, one of my mentors, we got together. I said, listen, I have a plan. I have an idea to really make this thing work. And then I came into the company.
Let's talk about the business. So first of all, you guys put on a great show. I took my
Thank
team
you so
there.
much. Yeah, it was awesome. It's not easy. There's a lot of organizational aspects to it, but you're lucky because the people who you work with love wrestling.
Right.
So they'll work harder. They'll do what needs to be done because they have passion for what they're doing. So with Zach and with Lance, who own Unbranded, it was one of those things where they had just had this huge space.
Yeah.
And it was just perfect, like two-tiered, the amazing front of the house with awesome food and beverage options and really nice place. And then this back brewery, very industrial looking thing. And I always remember the first time I saw it, I saw the vision.
Your eyes lit up
immediately. And it was actually one of the guys working for, this happens a lot in wrestling. One of the guys who was working for the owners, he basically booked the show without letting the owners know. And I think he got in trouble for it. He's not with them anymore. But that first show, we had about 300 people, and it was incredible. And they had an incredible bar ring. That's when I met Lance for the first time. I didn't know what was going on, and it was so incredible that he was like, "Bring it back. Let's do it monthly." And it's just been awesome. We were mentioned, we had an article written up about us in the New York Times because we are spearheading this industrial grassroots brewery wrestling,
right?
And we were one of the innovators, so that was really cool. And then it's a symbiosis. We give them awesome rings on their food and beverage, and we give them their revenue, and we make sure that we tailor it to their style of customer and what they're doing. And in return, they take care of us. They give us an incredible venue, they give us incredible marketing, and we are a wrestling company. We have a school. We're playing with media rights with some different things that we're doing. And then obviously live events. So it's a multifaceted business. It's very hard to wrangle sometimes, but it's incredibly fulfilling as someone who is as passionate about wrestling as we are. As some of these crazy fans are, as well. We're so passionate about it that I don't have a problem going and working, Monday through Thursday at the school with the students, and then on the weekends, 2 shows a weekend for the most part. We have about, give or take 40 active students, and some of them are just completely brand new to professional wrestling, and they're starting the course from the beginning and just learning about becoming a professional wrestler. Some of them are in their early 20s, and their idea is to be, former athletes, and they want to get to the WWE. They want to get to All Elite Wrestling. They want to get to nationally televised companies and large companies. And some guys are guys in their 30s who want to just be it and live it and become a pro wrestler. So it's really a lot of a good mix of people. And then on top of that, you have guys who come in who want to be referees, announcers, that type of stuff. You know, the learn the back end of the business, which we teach as well. You know, like production and video production and other stuff like that. But you also have guys that like you can do corporate events there. You can do team building events there. You know, we've had it where we would bring in 7, 8 guys from the same company, and they'll learn how to roll around a little bit and learn how to do like very simple things. And it's a great team building exercise, and it's so fun. But for like our primary thing is to get students going and get them, to the next level at the school. We have Gangrel, who is David Heath, who's our head trainer there, who's been with me now for 2 years, and he's incredible. He's an incredible teacher. He's a very old school, hard-nosed guy. He's a future WWE Hall of Famer. Obviously, I thought it was going to happen this year, but we're hopefully in some other in the coming years. He had a really big presence at this year's WrestleMania with the Edge and Finn Balor match. Everyone thought he was going to be there. It was so funny. The news journalists were like, he's going to be there. He's going to be there, confirming. And then people are calling me. And I'm like, well, I talked to him. He said he's not going to be there. And he might be lying to me, though, right? Like, you never know. You want to keep it under wraps. I wouldn't tell him. If he was, I wouldn't have told him. So they knew that. And so it's funny, too, because the morning of the second day, that Sunday, I call him and I said, FaceTime me. Are you still in Hollywood, Florida right now? And he's like, brother, I'm having lunch with my daughter and my wife. And I made him FaceTime me because I wasn't going to get worked. Yeah. So no, he wasn't there, but he's an incredible trainer. And here's a difference is, some other wrestling schools, like there'll be a name attached to the school. Yeah. Like you have to have some credibility. You need someone there who's been to the next level, who's been to the WWE, so that you can, really tell the students, I've been where you're going, and this is what you're doing. And the difference with Gangrel is he's there 4 nights a week, 5 days a week. He's there at 2:00 in the afternoon working on things. He's there until 10:00 at night, and he's an incredible trainer. So we have an amazing thing going. We have originally, 3 or 5 years ago when I kind of came in, it was a very a smaller group of local guys, and now we're at a point where guys are flying in from Arizona, from New Jersey to learn from us and to come to our school. So it's become a really awesome bump in prestige. But it's also incredible because we've had so many of our talents get to the next level. Yeah. So that helps. It's like, well, if you can do the work, and I tell new students every single day, I say it's on you. Like, all that we can promise is you'll get a look. We have so many of our guys go to All Elite Wrestling to do AEW Dark, and so many of our guys have been to those, have been to WWE and extra work, and some of our guys have been signed to the WWE. But I tell them, they have to put in the work. They have to get up and they have to, work out, and they have to learn, and they have to take it as seriously as you take any other job. So that's our main focus. But some of the most fun that I've had were some of these corporate events, birthday parties, awesome stuff that we do that is like family focused and corporate focused, and it's a blast.
Yeah, you guys are great to your customers. Talk to me about customer engagement. I mean, you do a lot of digital stuff at the events. I'm sure that's part of the school. Walk me through how you build these raving fans.
So, when you get an audience of 400 to 700 people at Unbranded on a monthly basis, you need to grab them. And so, I tell the guys that, like, even though we have our storylines and we have what we're doing, you have to understand that, like, there's a casual new fan that has just got there now. So, you have to cater to the casual audience. And one of the things that I wanted to change about professional wrestling in general, independent professional wrestling in general, was it was too niche. And so, you'd go to a show and the wrestlers were in the ring and there was not that many people there. Right. And we're wrestling for each other, to make each other laugh, to entertain each other. And that's not what we do at CCW. We're completely customer focused. My idea, or my ideal customer, the type of customer that I like is, and I say this all the time, but like, if you work in an office and you love wrestling, and there's a cute girl that you want to take out that just at the office, you can take her to our show. She'll have an amazing time. Yep. She won't be embarrassed to be there at professional wrestling. And then you can have some drinks, you can enjoy yourself, and then she'll come back and she'll tell her friends, and the office will come, and the group sales come, and it's really an incredible thing.
It's funny because so many people, obviously wrestling's been in our world, whether you're a casual fan or whatever, but to go to the live events, a lot of people still haven't gone. I took my team to your event, and I think
it was awesome.
I think I had been the only one that had ever been to a wrestling event. when the WWE came here in December, I took my entire team. I was also the only guy
Right.
that had ever, and everyone's like, why haven't I been to this?
Absolutely.
This is fun.
It's
This is
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
It's awesome.
And
Well,
there's something for everybody.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly right. It's a partially a variety show.
Right.
Because you have a little bit of comedy, you have, like beautiful women, you have good looking things going on, and then you have also simulated
villains.
comedy, combat.
Comedy,
you have
comedy, yeah.
Like combat, like you have villains and good guys and bad guys, and in the end, for the most part, good prevails over evil, and it's a long-term storyline. One of the things that's amazing about our shows is we'll do month to month. So we have every first Saturday we'll be at Unbranded Brewing in Miami. Second Friday is at Sun on the Beach Club in Old Town Kissimmee. Second Saturday is Homestead. Third Saturday is Pompano Beach, and we do other spot shows. But I tell a story, or we tell a story from month to month. So when the show is over, I'll get 40, 50 pre-sales of the same core audience
Really?
for the next show.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, they're ready to see the next part of the story. But when you write, or when, I don't want to say write, I never want to say write. When you put together the following show, you have to understand that there's primarily going to be new people there. So the show has to cater to the hardcore guys that know everything about it,
Right.
but also cater to people who come in and easily pick up the story, easily enjoy what they're doing. So that's the game. That is what we do.
So much of the business is storytelling, right? You mentioned the school, and you go, yeah, announcer training. And if you're really a wrestling fan, the announcers, it is a super talent. I call them like they're almost better than like Vince Scully in baseball,
Yes.
right? The way they sell the story, the way the
Yes.
excitement, like they are key, including Vince McMahon was an announcer for
Yes.
many, many
Yes.
years, right? Let's talk about storytelling.
Yes.
And how you put together the storylines and develop them, and sort of what is that process like?
Man, that's a great question. So storytelling, professional wrestling is storytelling.
Oh, yeah, right.
It is. It's from a microcosm. Like the match itself will tell a story, the show itself will tell a story, and from month to month will tell an overarching story. So each match has a winner or a loser for the most part, and in the combat there is a story being told, and the fans can lock into that, and that is primarily the wrestlers will come together with that, but it needs to sync with the show story, and it needs to sync with an overarching storytelling. So generally, like I'll sit down and I will map out 2.5 to 3 months. And because of the volume of shows,
And it's you and somebody else, or what is this?
I don't wanna tell-
I'm interested in the process.
Okay, I don't want to. Okay,
I don't
well,
want to.
that's fine.
Yeah, you don't have to give me the secrets.
Kevin Sullivan, the devil himself.
Who I grew up terrified of.
Yeah, he'll perch to my right.
Yeah.
The devil will be on my right, and then Gangrel, a vampire, in front of me. Sometimes Bill Alfonso, the legend Bill Alfonso. Sometimes like a select group of guys that I feel understand, and we'll just talk, and we'll talk about things, and we'll look at stories that happened in the past, because what is old is new again.
Sure.
And we'll pontificate, and we'll talk about certain guys, and we'll see, and I'll see who's really our available guys, because we have some guys that are, we had our champion be signed by All Elite Wrestling. We've had things happen where we're telling an overarching story, and they have to leave, and I need them to leave because I want them to get to the next level, and I need the next guy to step up and fill that spot.
Right.
So it's okay. Who do we have that's available, and what will work here? And then I'll look at the venue. I'll look at the fans. I'll look at what we're doing, and then I'll make sure that it's all contained in a 2-hour show. Because what happens is you have this like wealth of like talent and wealth of guys, and so you'll start to like. I'll wake up. Yesterday it was incredible. It was like 10 o'clock, and my wife. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I started coming up with this idea. So then I start texting 7, 8 guys who are part of all of this. And I'm texting, and they're replying immediately because we're professional wrestlers and we're insane. And we're just replying. We're back and forth, and all of a sudden...
I need to get on this text chain. But go.
All of a sudden, the hour is gone. An hour and a half is gone. And it felt like a second. And then the dates were there. Everybody was locked in. The story was told. And within 1 hour, it was done. And I emailed it to my social media director.
Yeah.
And he started to make the match cards, and he started to schedule the match cards, and then the advertisement goes out the next day, and that's how it works. And it's a very quick process. It can be too quick sometimes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we'll come up with a crazy idea, and then I'll realize I already have 7 matches for the show, and that's a 2-hour show. And the biggest problem that I find with entertainment is it's too long nowadays. Like I have ADD. I take ADD medication, and I still feel like I have ADD. So I can't watch 3 hours of Raw all the way through.
Ric Flair Steamboat fights used to be 2-hour wrestling matches, and I'm like, you're lucky
locked
if you get a 15-minute match.
Exactly. Yeah, you're locked at 90 minutes of these guys and stuff. But I want a 2-hour show where the story is being told, the matches are in there, like they're awesome matches, and then we go home and we go to the next town and we come back in a month and we do another 2-hour story. So what happens is it becomes a struggle. Like, oh, I really want to use this guy. Or I have new students who are just breaking out. They really are breaking out. Like we have a monthly show called Breakout.
Yeah.
But these guys that are just ready to go, and I'll put them on those shows. But I want to use them, and I'll look at my card, and it's like I can't, you know. And it's not even budgetary. It's literally just I need this to be a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Like I've seen the 3-hour shows, and I've seen all these things, and I've done those. And if you so it's really it's a wealth of opportunity. And so we cut up our shows, and every Tuesday there's 4 different local markets over the air and one syndicated market that plays our show. It's called Live Wrestling, and it's on. It drops on 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday nights on the YouTube page.
Okay.
So what happens is you take those shows, and then I start to cut those shows.
Yeah.
And then we parse out to the overall audience, the overarching story. And I hope that some of the audiences in Kissimmee and Nashville, and some of them do in Port St. Lucie, they watch that show, so they know what's coming. What changes occurred while they were gone. So it's something like that, like to create a real regional feel to what we're doing. It's a lot of work, but it happens very quickly.
So what do you look for in a wrestler? So somebody shows up at your school and you go, this person has potential or not. Like what are key characteristics that you look for?
One of the first things I do is I look at Gangrel when they walk in, and I say yes or no, and he'll know.
He's like that old baseball scout.
He'll look at you
like
as soon as you walk in, and he'll know, and he'll say no. And we'll sit him down, and obviously we'll still sign them up. He'll say no, and 90% of the time he's right. And then I'll look at them and I'll talk to them, and it's the opening conversation. You start to read, to be a professional wrestler, you have to be in this very interesting range of 9 to 13% of insane.
Okay, and I love that you have specific 9 to 13.
If you're 8.5, you're not crazy enough.
Yeah.
If you're 13.5, you're too crazy. It's exactly this range. So I'll gauge is he crazy enough to bleed in front of someone, because that's a 9%.
Right.
It's like, why would you do this?
Right.
Like I've had people who've gone all the way to training and said, we're doing this angle, and then we'll show them like, this is the things that you do, and they'll look at me like, this is. I say, okay, you're at 8%, and that's fine. And,
Right.
But you have to be at 9 if you want to do this. And then there are guys who are just uncontrollable, and those are the 13 to 15% guys. So I'll get that.
Well, what is uncontrollable in your definition?
Wow, I've seen it all, man. I've had 2 altercations with wrestlers that were about to become physical in the last 5 years, and it's one of those things where you're looking at a guy and you're like,
you're nuts.
I can't believe I'm here and we're doing this and we're all working together, and I'm gonna have to fight a guy over this. This is ridiculous. Over the 2 instances in my head are the dumbest things.
Sure,
It's way dumber than the real issues. But you have wrestlers like I'm one of them. I mean, I've been one of them. I'm an insane person sometimes too. Like I try to reel it in. I'm older now, but it's just you go out, or a guy will fight a fan at a bar, or a guy will, it's just what it is. It happens still. Like it doesn't happen on brand. It doesn't happen like very often or anything. But wrestlers have their interesting personalities, And at the school, you know what? I like sometimes I tell people it's a lot like organized sports. Like you're having a good football training camp, and you get a couple fights, a couple guys who are have a little issues, and guys with personal issues, as long as they don't hate each other, have incredible chemistry.
Yeah.
So guys who have problems with each other, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
Right.
You can look at it like I hear stories about Flair and Dusty where there were serious problems, but they had incredible chemistry.
Right.
And then you have it on the flip side, like the best matches that I've had are with my best friends, where we'll take liberties with each other. Like I will be stiffer and snugger with a guy who's my best friend, because I know after the match we're gonna laugh about it, and where it's like, oh, I don't know if this guy's gonna like it when I'm gonna forearm him in the head a few times pretty stiff. So that's how you can kind of play with that. It's an artist collective. That's the best way to explain it. Is you have guys with their own ideas and the guys with passion. So imagine you have 30 passionate artists who really care about what you're doing, and you're saying this is what you're doing today. And if it doesn't fit their vision, it becomes very difficult. And that's the whole thing. So what happens is the guys that are willing to do this thing, those are the guys that you see on every show who are there early, who are there working and stuff like that. And then, there's thousands of professional wrestlers. So it's a very, like I have such a good base, and I have Kevin Sullivan,
Right.
and I have Gangrel, who keeps everyone in check. No one says that. Like, Gangrel says jump, they'll jump.
Really?
Nobody says anything to him. And it's partially the reputation that he has had of beating up high-profile people, Like, he was the guy in the WWE locker room, like, I don't want to kill his gimmick, but he was the type of guy where, he was with Luna Vachon, who is one of the loves of his life and whatever, and if he would have to stand up and punch a guy, he would do it, in the WWE. So, if he's doing it there, he would do it anywhere.
He would do it anywhere, right.
So you have those guys that, or Kevin, like, I saw one guy disrespect Kevin, and he'll never do that again. So it's one of those things that you have those guys, that I love what I'm doing. I'm passionate. I work hard, but they have those things that you can keep in complete control of your locker room.
Right. So we talked about the wrestler's profile. I've always wanted to know, how do you pick between a babyface and a heel? And for the casual fan, babyface is good guy, heel's the bad guy. Does that happen very early, or as part of the evolution of a story?
So the secret is we can all do both. The best ones can do both. Some guys look like heels, some guys look like baby faces. When I'm looking at a guy and I'm talking to him and he's training, if the guy's arrogant, if the guy is if the guy's a jerk, he's a better baby face.
Really, why?
It's completely opposite. So the baby faces in professional wrestling, this is a huge secret, are the biggest jerks of them all. They're
really?
The worst. They want it all. They want the glory. They want everything. So they are the baby faces. And the best guys are the best heels because they're giving. They're in there because they want that reaction from the crowd. But they know at the end of this thing, they're getting pinned. They're getting beat up. Good will triumph over evil. So they're the guys working so hard to make the baby face look good. They're the selfless guys. They're the good guys in professional wrestling. The good guys are the bad guys. And not just here, but almost universally, a lot of times, the good guys are not good guys.
Wow, interesting. I was thinking, the role of the manager has disappeared a little bit, right? We grew up with Bobby the Brain Heenan and the Hammer and Virgil and all these guys. Like, what happened there? Because they were always great to play off of a heel, or Captain Lou Albano, doing his thing.
I love it. You don't want to pay that guy. You got to pay another guy on the outside. It's simply
you got to pay another guy. Okay,
yeah,
it's interesting.
People were like, Vince McMahon doesn't love tag team wrestling. People would say for years that he just puts two guys together. He doesn't care. And then I heard that when Vince wasn't a billionaire, but he was still very popular, was still on television, he would put two guys together because he didn't want to pay two guys and always have to pay two guys. And those guys were tied together and all this type of stuff. And I love tag team wrestling. Yeah. And I also love managers. So Bill Alfonso is an incredible manager, and he's one of my mentors. And if you see our show, like Lou Spector and Eric Christopher, heel managers, and what happens is in independent wrestling, sometimes I'll bring a guy from the outside that nobody knows. So they'll get no reaction unless they come out with Lou Spector, unless they come out with Eric Christopher, and immediately the whole place knows that guy is garbage. He's a bad guy. You hate him because those managers are bad guys, So you can retain the stories, and they're great, And one of the biggest secrets in wrestling or whatever was those guys, the Albanos and the Jimmy Harts and stuff, they're all working office backstage jobs. And there's some, in the 80s, those guys were many times like the agents and the managers of the wrestlers because
they really were.
Needed Jimmy Hart. He was his real manager.
Yes, you're right. I forgot about that.
He needed to be like, I need to get to the airport. He's like, call Jimmy. Like they were just, the Ultimate Warrior needed guys. Like Bill Alfonso was put with, because he could speak Spanish, he was put with Giant Gonzalez. And Fonzie's telling me, he's like, I'm in a car with an 8-foot giant guy in a van, and he can't speak English. And I'm walking in asking for this 8-foot guy to use the bathroom, and everyone's freaking out, like, who is this guy? And Fonzie needed to be that guy. So what happened? We got to pay Fonzie. We got to have Fonzie there. So
might as well have him part of the show.
So at the time, he was a referee. And then when he went to ECW, he was so good with the boys. Like, you had to book him. He's such a great guy. And then they realize he has incredible talent. Like he has
they're charismatic.
Well-spoken, he's charismatic. A lot of times they're older, they're former wrestlers, and they can mentor and get the younger talent where they need to be. So in the WWE, that doesn't equate well with what they do. There's a system there, but for what I do and other parts of wrestling, managers are they're incredibly important.
How real is the movie The Wrestler?
I can tell you 3 people or 4 people that when I watch that movie, I've watched that movie like 20
Me too.
times.
It's one of my favorites.
I text those guys every single time. I ask them how they're doing, ask them what they're doing. It is very realistic. There are certain aspects the wrestling was not realistic, and a lot of people that are now friends of mine, Andrew Anderson and Papa Don, were in that movie. A lot of guys that I've known now were actually in The Wrestler, and they said that they were kind of fighting with the creative. That's how wrestlers are. They show up in a movie and they're saying like, brother, it doesn't work for me. This is not how we say. This is not what we do, a little bit. So what happened was some of that got into the movie, like when some of the backstage scenes and stuff, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
But there are certain things like in the wrestling, and then there's certain things like, so not every locker room is like that, but we have a very clean locker room. And it's one of those things like when I started wrestling, it was not as clean of a locker room. There's a lot of like crazy stuff going on and stuff. And now I do travel to large independent companies like AIW and Game Changer Wrestling and other places, and it's not the same. Like it's not the same as what it used to be. These guys are all different. Like you can understand why the guys from the 80s are dying, and it's because of that lifestyle.
Tough life.
So that was what they were. That's what they were trying to show, is those guys from the 80s to transition into the early 2000s was the most difficult thing, and they all started to die.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't happen the same way. And you have guys, but like I said,
I think the guys take care of themselves better now, right? They're not as crazy.
I mean, I've heard stories about like the massive consumption of steroids that blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I said, human beings can live on,
yes, crazy.
Like human beings can live on that much like steroids. It's like, well, we didn't know, brother. We didn't know. It's
and they were buying roids off a guy in the bathroom or in Tijuana. It was insane.
Well, also like now, like doctors get prescribed testosterone to men in their 30s and their 40s, and the information is out there on what is the effective doses.
Right.
Where back then they were just like, oh,
give me this horse.
Give me all of it.
Yeah.
I'll do it right now. How much more can you give? And then they're like, those guys who were just turning red and doing those promos. Like you look at it back now and you're like, that guy is killing himself right there. And I'm not gonna name names, but a couple guys that I've worked with, and I look at them and I'm just like, oh, I want to almost grab them and be like, please, like, I don't want you to die. Like, I don't want you to die.
Yeah.
But now it's
and they were on the road 300 nights a year.
I actually don't like to talk about how things have cleaned up, because I think it's part of the mystique. Is like, will a wrestler stab you? Will a wrestler kill you?
Right.
It's part of the cool aspect of wrestling, and it's just not the same. It's not what it used to be. But like I said, there's 4 guys that I can think of off the top of my head right now that I want to call them. I'm going to text them after this podcast. Like, hey, hope you're doing good. Exactly. Let me know what's going on. Let's work on some stuff, because it is, certain aspects are really realistic. What happens is you fall in love with the energy of the crowd. Like I'm 38. I can't believe I just said that on camera. I'm 38 years old. I just had a full wrist reconstruction last year. I broke 3 ribs in my back taking a backdrop in Colombia. I thought I was going to die. I thought I punctured a lung. And the promoter's telling me, like, don't go to the hospitals in Bogota. Fly home tomorrow and go to your hospital. And I did. And I've been beat up, and I can't stop, because it's so incredible, that feeling when you hear the crowd and you're doing things, and like when you think about something or you try something new, and even like now, like I'll do something different and it'll work. Yeah. That feeling you can't.
That high of the performance.
You can never, ever feel it doing anything else. Yeah. And so it's really hard.
So how you as the guy who runs it, how often are you performing? And by the way, for the fans out there listening, what is your stage name?
I have to do this, I guess. Well,
you can do a whole promo here.
I could do no. Well, I wear a mask, and I have a big I'm the Brazilian Destroyer. And I'm a very large, boisterous character, and I'm very intense and stuff. So it's fun. Before the wrist surgery, I was wrestling 8 times a month, pretty regularly. And then now it's actually funny. I had the wrist surgery in July, started my physical therapy, and then talked to the surgeon. Whatever, no problem. So when I started the physical therapy, I assumed I could start to lift. Yeah. I could start to do things. So then I started getting back in the ring. So I wear the wrist brace, and I'm getting back in the ring, and I had a very hot angle that I needed to finish. So I said, give me 3 months. I come back strong on the angle. I am not, physically I was dying. I was not in the shape I need to be. I'm still not in the shape I need to be. I finished the angle. It was incredible. I felt great. My body started to feel better. I started to wrestle more. And then in December, December. December 11th, the surgeon calls me and he goes, "Hey, really excited. We can start level 2 with like minimum lifting." And I was like, "Wait, level 2? There's a level 2?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, well, what's after level 2?" He said, "Well, then you can start to train in like March the following year." And I'm like I have
Like,
just
dude, I've
been
been
wrestling every night on a wrist that was hurt. It hurt every night. My wrist hurt. And I had no idea. And so I did scale it back a little bit. And now 2 matches a month. I'll do some surprise stuff. Like if the angle serves it, I'll do it. And then it helped. Actually, me being injured has helped me refocus some parts of the business where I can sit down and watching the monitor in the back and really critique every wrestler, where they're going, critique everything. When they walk through that curtain, I can grab them and I can be upset at them right away instead of watching the video back later. And it's an in-the-moment thing. Like when someone comes back and I say, "This is what we did wrong, this is what we did wrong, this is what we did wrong," it's way better than telling them. Unfortunately, like I'll be watching or editing the show and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I just start texting guys like, "This was garbage and you knew how this and you did this and you did this." And then I'll stop myself and I'm like, "That's wrong. That's not the way to do it." So it's helped me to and save me time too.
Take a step back
And some of that. So that's happening. It has got to happen. I have to stop, but I can't see myself stopping. I have to.
This episode is brought to you by Buena Vista Creative, Miami's premier digital marketing agency. Visit buenavistacreative.com for more info on how Buena Vista can help your business increase revenue and create the brand and digital presence it deserves. Video and podcast production, web and app development, search engine and social media marketing, logo creation, outdoor, print, swag, and more. Visit buenavistacreative.com to learn more.
Let's talk about the business of so a couple big things have happened in the world of wrestling, right? So one, WWE finally gets a competitor in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are your thoughts on AEW? Where do they take it? Because they've had some real great wins and then they've had some misses.
So I love All Elite Wrestling. I love it because there's new jobs that are created for wrestlers. And for me at the school, our champion is now the Spanish announcer for All Elite Wrestling, one of the Spanish color guys. You have a lot of AEW guys, which has been great. Like Tony Khan and the team over there, QT Marshall, who's been incredible, who works with us and also does talent. He does talent assessments at our school. So he'll come to our school, he'll come to our shows, and he'll assess guys, and he'll bring them to bed. It's so incredible because he says, "This is what we're looking for.
Right.
This is what you need to do. This is what you need to work on." And that's insane. And then he's taken 12, 13, 14 guys and girls, and he's put them on AEW Dark. So I have to say, and the type of relationship that I have with them and what they have with our company has just been incredible. There are things, obviously, that it's like, oh, you want to but it's not. There are things about the company. No company's perfect. There's things about when I watch AEW that I'm just watching. I'm like, oh, I wish this would happen. I wish this would happen. I wish things would be different in certain aspects. It really hurt to see that CM Punk when he's eating the cupcakes and he's sitting next to his boss and he's saying I work with children. And he's saying all these things. Oh, my heart was hurting.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I would put myself in what Tony Khan was feeling and at first I would be I would stop him right there. And I said, maybe I wouldn't. I'm on television right now. I'm trying to process what he's saying.
It got a lot of views, man. I saw it. Yeah.
Well, and that was the second thing. I was like, oh, I hope it's a work. I hope it's an angle.
Right.
I was hoping, but then you start to hear the things that he said. I was like, that is you cross a line. When you cross that line, it's I don't know, man. And then I had friends I had a friend who was literally she doesn't work there, but her boyfriend was there, and she was literally on the other side of the room, right outside the door. And a bunch of people ran in when that fight happened, I guess. And I said, "Are you there?" She's like, "Yeah, this is real." She's like, "It is 100% real." She said, "It happened, and it was weird, and it was whatever." So you see that, and you're like, "Oh, it's really disappointing." But they've recovered because now CM Punk's back, and they're doing a lot of really cool things there. Yeah,
it was the wrestlers fan. If you're a hardcore guy, not general, that was what that league was about.
Yes, that was actually a protest of what WWE was doing.
Right.
That's what that
it became a little commercial, a little goofy WWE.
The angles were it's we want guys to wrestle. We want guys to do this. We want guys to do this. Things were changing. So that was a protest, and they captured that hardcore niche audience. But it's very scary if that audience is only 1 million people.
Right.
Because then you go, okay, well, where's the casual audience? And then how do you get the casual audience? How do you not alienate your niche audience? It's not a niche audience, but that hardcore, 1 million people is not a niche. So that audience, how do you not alienate your core audience by opening it up to the casual audience. And then you think, well, maybe that's why the WWE was doing such goofy things. Because I love talking to like regular like people who like wrestling but aren't into the wrestling.
Like me.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, you actually you like wrestling.
Right.
I like people who like remember wrestling a little bit and stuff. And the names that they would remember are Goldberg, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes, everybody.
And these guys with size that didn't move incredibly well,
Yeah.
but told a great story
Yeah.
and were very realistic. And then you talk to a hardcore wrestling fan or talk to wrestlers and they're going to say Will Ospreay and they're going to say other smaller guys. And then you put those guys on the show and those guys are going to watch it. I want the Uber driver that I was talking to who wants to see Goldberg. You know what I'm saying? So then the problem is you will, if you bring Goldberg to All Elite Wrestling, you will alienate your core audience. So
like,
what do you do?
One of the things is like the one everybody knows, Hogan.
Yeah.
Hogan wasn't a great wrestler.
Right.
Like he had the boot, he had the leg drop, but man, entertainer.
Yes.
When he put the music coming onto the ring, I mean, like he just know how to sell a story.
Longevity, facials.
Yeah.
The things that he would do in the
Say
ring.
your prayers, take your vitamins. Like if people remember that from my era.
I look back and I see he does the back rake.
Yeah.
And he does these things. He's doing heel things. And these little kids, me, I was one of them.
Yeah.
I'm cheering this guy. And I say, he's so perfect. And he was that, it's like, you talked about perfect babyface. And I think one of the problems that Roman Reigns had is he's just such a good looking guy. Hogan's not a good-looking guy.
He's not a good-looking guy.
He's a construction worker. He's a workman.
Yeah.
But he was our guy.
He was your guy.
He was our guy. So it's like you have that thing where like Hogan was the guy. He looked great. He was the guy. He's big, and he's bigger in person. It's funny because like the WWE was the land of the giants.
Yeah.
So a guy who's like legitimately 6'5" at that size is an incredible specimen.
Right.
And then but you put him next to Andre the Giant. You put him next to Tugboat, Earthquake. Put him next to King Kong Bundy, and he doesn't look like a big guy. He doesn't look like a big, right. So you have a lot of like, he's huge. And when you actually see him in person, his personality, like that's one of the things.
He's got the it factor.
Exactly. There are a few guys that have walked in the door and they have this charisma and they're very difficult to deal with. That's that guy. That's that guy where it's like you listen to Hogan talk and he's very like, he'll like start telling like crazy stories, and they're like some of them cannot be true. Like, I wrestled 380 days in a year. It's like, well, that's impossible.
Right.
But those are the guys where you're kind of like, there's something there.
There's something there. Yeah.
So you look for those guys.
Well, so one of those guys that's something there that the WWE just brought on was Logan Paul, and I saw one of his first when he fought Roman Reigns.
In Saudi Arabia.
And I'm like, first of all, he's super athletic. He's bigger than I thought. But man, charismatic, great in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Sold, the storyline. I mean, he was really good. And I was like, this is like his third match.
We were talking about if you talk about business, we've had those guys those guys that are just next level guys.
Right.
They wake up at 5, they work out, they do everything, and then at 4:30, 5 o'clock, they don't go to sleep, they don't go home, they go to wrestling training. Right. So like he does all those things, the podcast, he delegates, he's his own business. He will end up a billionaire if he's not a billionaire already. And so you take a guy like that who's an outlier in terms of just incredible production and you give him a task like they did. It was probably one of the most amazing things to see him wrestle at the level that he did. It was something where I went to my students the next day and I said, this is exactly this is the prototype. He will be incredible.
The
he can be incredible.
The crossover is so important. So because he's a content creator, that's that next pivot for WWE. But he's good because Ronda Rousey, I don't think she sells it well. She's a fantastic athlete and all stuff. But like I've seen her, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. She doesn't have that it factor, or something's missing.
Yeah. Well, full disclosure. Well, I can't even say it, but like, there's a project with.
Don't worry,
Ronda
nobody's
Rousey.
listening to this podcast, so you can say what.
Okay, no, but I can't say anything bad about Ronda Rousey. I love Ronda Rousey.
No, yeah,
there's some
great.
stuff going on where but yeah, there is something where Logan Paul, he's out there having fun. I don't know if Ronda's having fun.
Agree 100%. She looks like she's kind of miserable.
She's
out there.
she's
I'm collecting a check.
What's the next thing that I'm gonna do? But then you look at Logan Paul's eyes, and there's something there where he's having a blast,
He's having a blast, but you get the sense like I could take it or leave it. Like this could be my last match because he's already super rich. Or WWE actually needs him more.
Exactly. So and I explain that to my students because my students will ask like, well, Why can't I get on more shows? Why doesn't this person fly me to New York? Why doesn't this person do this? Why did these 2 of my students got a tryout and these 3 of my students didn't? When these 3 have a better look and are better wrestlers, and I would tell them, you have to be undeniable. You have to be like everything that you do when an agent at the WWE calls you. What are you going to do for them? Like, are you going to be able to earn them money? Are you going to bring new people there? So now the WWE is at a point where they take college athletes, they take people who are just incredible physical specimens, and they train them from the ground up. And you take a look at someone like Logan Paul, and I think that's the future. Someone who has 100 million in his total
hardcore followers,
raving
fans,
and all that type of stuff, and viewers every day. And he can start angles. Look at Pat McAfee is the same, who also had a great match. He was trained by Rip Rogers. But you look at like the guys who were, coming into the system now, man, like the future looks more like Logan Paul's and less like, Roddy Piper's. Roddy Piper right now, who is an incredible talent, would probably be like a really, really popular, awesome indie guy. He'd probably be an AEW guy, maybe. Maybe he'd be like an Impact guy, and everyone would love him. But like they would look at him and they would say, "You don't look like." NFL linebacker, or you don't look like a gymnast, or you don't look like these type of things. And he wouldn't have 100 million followers. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, the WWE wants to tap into those followers who are probably casual wrestling fans, but they're like, we're Logan Paul fans. And so where he goes, I go, just like boxing.
Right.
The best thing that could have happened to boxing is Jake Paul. People make fun of him. Like, first of all, that guy's only been boxing for 5 years.
Right.
But, he's taking on real fighters. He's not going to be Tyson Fury. But, man, he got a whole wave of people who were not interested. I've watched, I think, all of his fights.
That's great.
And I'm like, wow, man. Like, yeah, there is something to it. And I'm not even a Jake Paul fan.
But I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Boxing maybe lost the casual audience. And
they absolutely did.
Jake Paul is bringing them back. And that whole like creator clashes and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I get a little upset because they're infringing on what we do, brother. Because sometimes you look at those fights and you're like, something's off there. And I say, you know what? I'm in that business too. But they're so lucky that they still have every person in the arena believing that Mayweather and the Gotti kid were actually going to fight each other. I was there. I was there with my wife works at Channel 7, and I was there at this booth with all these sales people from Channel 7, and the fight breaks out, and they're like, we need to get out of here before somebody gets shot, and I'm looking at them, and I said, listen, I saw him tell him the next round is done. We're going to the DQ. I saw it all happening.
Yeah.
I saw that there was a guy playing a heel on the Gotti side. He was walking around, getting the audience up. The audience started cheering the heels. Mayweather did a turn right there. It was so obvious to me. I was watching the cues, the same cues that I've seen a million times. But the thing that made me nuts is these people are scared and are leaving and are going to call all their friends saying, we were almost shot by a Gotti crew. And I'm like, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want them to believe, So that's, and maybe that is the future, but that's just like one of those things like, those are people who studied a business. Like those people who are studying where the future is going to go. And the core, like the hardcore boxing fans have not done so. Like that is not, like you do have the, Deontay Wilder, Fury, still tons of money.
But it's so fragmented and too many.
And the future looks like more like Logan Paul than it does Tyson Fury.
Absolutely. The future of wrestling. So there was a big merger, right?
Yeah.
Endeavor, WWE, and then UFC and that whole pot. Where do you think, what does it look like in the next couple of years with WWE? Vince is getting older. I don't think Stephanie McMahon wants to be. Triple H is still in there. Where does wrestling go from here?
I think they all want to be. I think it's a situation where when the money becomes so great that it's something where it's generational. It's weird to talk about because it's like someone has. What's the difference? You have 9 billion or you have 14 billion? Really, your lifestyle is not going to change much.
He's already a rich guy.
I think it was one of those. It might be a legacy thing particularly for Vince McMahon because he was in a situation where maybe they had taken some control from him, and he didn't like that. He said, "I built this." There's that hilarious angle in 2001 where Vince McMahon was like, "I'm not getting kicked out. I'll burn this place to the ground." And he spins around and he brings in the NWO to kill what he started. And I was watching that, and I was like, you know what, he was delivering that with a lot of
He's the greatest heel.
Real, there was probably something real there, but there was the opportunity to leave there's an exit strategy. Like we all build businesses for exit strategies. And I'm very passionate about professional wrestling, and I have other businesses, and you have to try to build up what you can, get as much money as you can, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So this is I believe the exclamation point on Vince McMahon's legacy. Look what I did, so that he is remembered in the future. And I also think when it comes down to professional wrestling, you can look at it in a few ways. Do I think it's good for the wrestlers who work there? I mean, to be sold to Endeavor, I don't know. I think like the merging and the cross promotion with the UFC is good and bad,
right? Because
the UFC has taken so much of the professional wrestling business. They've taken from it so much. So what happens is you're not going to get. I don't think you're going to get too much of the UFC fans crossing over to WWE. You probably get more WWE fans crossing over to UFC. But when they become UFC fans, will they still feel the same magic that they felt? So if you look at it like that. As a consumer of professional wrestling, it might be a bad thing because right now you can watch it on Peacock for $12.99, and I guarantee you when the merger comes through and everything is done, you're at least going to be paying $60 for their 6 times a year. Yeah. So there's that, in terms of being a wrestling fan, that's where you're at. And then creatively speaking, I mean, I'm really good friends with Ryan Katz when he left WWE and he came to us, and I'm working with a private label project with somebody that Katz was involved with, and I spent a lot of time with him. And he says the creative was very difficult. They brought him back, and I saw the change immediately in NXT when they brought him back. And he is a major creative force there, and I think that Triple H really does believe in him. But what happens when Endeavor and all those people come in? Like, do they find the Ryan Katzes, or do they keep the Ryan Katzes? Do they find other people? Do they change the show? Like the second that the show becomes a broad marketing approach, what is the word? Like it is a broad marketing approach now, but when
just commercialized.
When it gets when you lose the love, like that final piece of that creative might be an issue. But if Ryan Katz, I gotta keep saying him, or trying to think of the other guys, Blake Chadwick, who was our announcer, was signed to NXT. He's at Level Up. If you have guys like him, and I hear guys like Corey Graves, and of course you have guys like Road Dogg and other guys like that who are pretty good at what they do. If they're around, it shouldn't change very much.
So that's not the only big wrestling acquisition that happened. I understand that you got the name Florida Championship Wrestling, which is near and dear to my heart because that's how I was introduced. Gordon Solly and all these wrestling guys. I used to watch it on Saturday mornings. Loved it. That's exciting news.
The trademark
share with the audience.
The trademark for Championship Wrestling from Florida as a show became available in November, and I scooped it up right away.
Congrats.
And then, of course, you look at it and you're like, well, this has a really storied history, and you want to do a lot of stuff. So, of course, we started to sell some cool merch and all that stuff, and we're using it, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching a lot of it. I was just started to drink like a Cabernet, nice Cabernet, 9 o'clock at night. You sit down, and I could watch 3 episodes. And what I loved about Championship Wrestling from Florida, and I was fairly new to it. I started watching wrestling in '93. Was it is the original ADD wrestling? Gordon, then you go to
100%. It's a single camera shot.
Yeah, Gordon, and then you go to the left, and then you get a 30-second promo, and they're done. And you go to the right, and another person is talking already. And I'm like, this is incredible. No entrance. Go to the ring. 2.5 minute match.
They walk right by Gordon.
Yes. Interesting match, 2.5 minute match, cut. Go to J.J. Dillon, backstage promo. And I'm just like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is exactly right. And I asked Kevin, because I said, Kevin, you're such a huge factor in this. I said, who formatted this? Like, this is incredible. And he said, Eddie Graham himself formatted these shows. And Eddie Graham was just and he looked at me, he goes, you need to take this from Eddie. Is just, if you didn't do what Eddie Graham said, you were going to be physically hurt. And I said, well, in today's day of lawsuits and social media,
you don't want to do that.
I can't just browbeat my announcers and my referees like Eddie apparently did. But he said it was, if you have 30 seconds, it was 30 seconds. If your promo was not good, it was an immediate, like he would come at you. So I was like, okay. So it was an intense, quickly run show. So I said, how do we bring that together? So we filmed 6 episodes. We had some early interest. We had some potential distribution before the taping that doesn't look like it's going to come through. So I'm working on, a better deck page and a better, nice edits and some things that I'm going to be shopping around. And we've had interest. I've had interest also in stuff that we have for CCW, so I'm looking at those avenues as well. But distribution is the hardest thing right now.
Right.
But people love Championship Wrestling Florida, and this was what was incredible is we do 8 shows a month all throughout the state of Florida. You know, we're opening new shows in Tampa. We're doing Daytona. We're doing Lakeland. We're doing some other stuff, and this expansion has been great. And I've gotten so many people who are like, I didn't even know CCW, but I love Championship Wrestling in Florida. And then those people started to come to our show.
Yeah.
So I tapped into this audience of older wrestling fans who are now watching the show. So I'm excited to see how that does.
Yeah, the old territories, man. The Texas Championship Wrestling with the Von Erichs, the Florida Championship Wrestling, AWA, where Flair came from. Words of wisdom to people out there wanting to get in the wrestling business.
Man, it's something that I talk about this a lot because it's something that I talk about every week. I have at least 3 people coming every week, and I've talked to them. I give them the same speech, and I'll give a little bit of a shorter version now. It's like professional wrestling doesn't owe us anything. Like professional wrestling, in all reality, hates us as an individual. They hate us. Like you will work so hard, and you will be tireless, and you will be passionate, and you will love it, and wrestling will never love you back. Like look at Bret Hart. Wrestling did not. He does not. He is the 5-time champion. He's made millions of dollars, and wrestling did not treat him very well. He lost
the
a
Montreal
brother.
Screwball, right?
He lost his brother. He lost the Montreal Screwjob. He lost his family. His family doesn't talk to him. It's just his life. Wrestling, even a guy who is main evented WrestleMania has not treated him well. Wrestling will not treat you well. It will be very difficult. It will be very painful, but it will be so fulfilling if you have the attitude that it's your passion. And one day, if you come in passionate and you come in loving it, one day, suddenly, you will make money. One day, suddenly, someone will look at you and say, wow, this person should be on television. But the majority of people who come in have a completely different mentality. They might love it, but you have to be an insane person. So that's what I would say.
I can tell. I know why you're successful at it because you are passionate about wrestling. All right, I can't let you go without some rapid fire questions.
Throw it at
Ready?
me.
All right. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers?
Bret Hart, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin.
Wow, that's okay. All right, harder record to break, Pete Rose's all-time hit record or 16-time world champ Ric Flair? Harder record to break.
Pete Rose's hit. I was like, come on, some of those later Ric Flair title reigns were very short. And I think he also added, when he Fonzie was the referee. Yeah. It was Flair Fujinami in Japan. It was 17,000 people. And during the match, Flair turns to Fonzie and he goes, "We're not doing the finish, brother. We're not going to do that finish, brother. We're not going to leave you alive." So Fonzie's like, "What do you want me to do, kid?" So Fujinami wins the belt, leaves with the belt. They get to the back. They film Fonzie reversing the decision in the back. That's counted as a title match. Fonzie almost didn't get out of Japan alive. So if you look at stuff like that, we happened in Puerto Rico one time, that's 2 title reigns that are, come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, not to say anything about Ric Flair. Like I said, he's on my Mount Rushmore. But that's, someone's going to pass that. It won't be, I don't know who will. Seth Rollins?
Yeah, well, because you got to lose and win. That's the whole thing.
You have to
you got to be in the game a long time.
So Flair, as that traveling champion, he would do it where he lost it on a Friday and he won it on the next Friday. So it was like a very different era to do that.
Different era. All right. Was Jake the Snake's snake really poisonous? There's a lot of rumors about that.
No, it wasn't poisonous. But I just met Jake, spent some time with him. He did wrestle for CCW. It was the first ever Southeastern Championship match. It was between Joe Khabib and Jake the Snake Roberts, and Jake was in a bad shape at the time, but it was a good match. Yeah. I just spent some time with Jake at this other show a little bit ago, and he is incredible. But yes, no, that was no fun.
All right, what is your walk up to the ring song?
It's actually, it's funny. So it's called Victoria, and it was my former tag team partner who turned on me. It's his band. It was his music. We came out as a tag team. We won the tag team titles for 2 years. He turned on me, and I used his music, his voice singing me out to the ring when I came and destroyed him in a cage at Unbranded Brewing 3 months ago.
All right, you get one game show to play to save your life. What's the game show?
This is great. Jeopardy.
Jeopardy.
But it just depends on the opponent. I'm not going to
If it's all wrestling questions, you're in. You're safe.
Done. Yeah. No, but you know what? I can play regular Jeopardy. I would love to do it. I was gonna say millionaire, but no one wins millionaire.
No.
At least you have 33% of a chance to win Jeopardy.
It was millionaire, and then the line that you call it's only wrestlers.
Right. Oh, that would be perfect. Oh, no, then I win. Then
you win.
Put me
All right,
against
who are the
any
wrestlers that are on the line? So you got to call 2 wrestlers to save to win the contest for
Great
you.
question.
Who are like smart wrestlers going to know the answers?
Number 1, Kevin Sullivan's a freak. He knows weird stuff.
Really?
Kevin
Sullivan's like my Darth Vader. As a kid, I was terrified of that man.
I'll next time I'm on, I'll bring him with me.
Please, please.
Yes, he's a blast. He knows weird stuff. Like I was in a car and we were there with a guy who's a Native American part of the reservation, and they start talking, and Kevin knows all of the guys in the Native reservation, and he knows the whole history of the tribe, of the Seminole tribe, and he knows all this crazy stuff. And I'm looking at him, and then we sit down, and he's talking to me about the wine that we're drinking and what vineyard it's from and who it's from. It's freaky. And then he'll talk about boxing from the 1950s, and then he booked WCW from 95 to like 96 to 99 or something. And he remembers what wrestlers said to him on the day that he booked the shows. And I'm like, I don't remember.
And this dude is in his 70s,
I don't remember.
right?
Yeah, I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I remember nothing. Like maybe that's my superpower. I remember nothing. Kevin remembers everything, so I would call Kevin.
All right, Kevin. All right, where can people find out about CCW? When are your next events? Tell me about the school, everything.
Okay, so ccwrestlingfl.com is the website. You can do that for tickets. You can do that to sign up to the school. All socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, @CCW Alive TV. And then you can find all of our stuff on that. Alive Wrestling drops every Tuesday night on the YouTube, or check your local listings if you live in New Mexico and you're listening to this. We lost our West Palm Beach over-the-air channel because they just went out of business.
All good, dude. All good.
But anyway, so at CCW Alive TV on all the handles, ccwrestlingfl.com. You can, find me through everything like that too. You can just search me and all that type of stuff. New wrestlers, I always love new wrestlers, always new fans, anything that's cool. Also media opportunities, sponsorship opportunities, all that type of stuff. You can just throw that at the website. We'll hit you back, and we'll do whatever we can. Like we help brands, like in terms of like connecting with wrestling fans and that type of stuff, and so you can be involved in all that stuff. If you also want to book a birthday or a team building exercise or a private show, like I love going to big companies, and we'll set the ring up and all this type of stuff.
Nice.
And like the fans, a couple times it was like a surprise, and then the fans, the employees just come out and like, what is this? And then we just give them a freaking great show. So.
Trust me, we're going to do something.
We'll do it.
There's a couple people here at work I'm dying to body
We'll
slam.
do it. So perfect. You bring them to the school. We'll have fun.
Before we go, I can't let you leave without breaking it down. I need a wrestling promo to end the show.
Okay. I kind of want to do it as Flair.
Do it as Flair.
Okay.
Do it as fucking Flair.
Bright lights, big city, Miami, CCW, brother. The greatest show in town. You know it. Everybody knows it. Every first Saturday of the month. Unbranded Brewing. Woo! The best place to be, brother. Something like that. Something like that.
That was awesome. Hey, man, thanks for coming, brother.
And when are we going to get you in the ring? We got to get you in the ring.
Man.
Referee,
Anytime.
manager. You know what? You'll take a body slam.
I'm in. I'm in.
Awesome.